Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Oscar's Cozy Corner. I hope that you're all having a beautiful day. See what I did there? You might be wondering, Oscar, where is your face? Well, unfortunately, friends, today I had to do some repairs in my garden, and I very sillily, is that a word? Did not wear sunscreen because it is, in fact, the 6th of March, and I didn't think I needed it, and I have sunburnt my face. So for today, we're going to have to deal with my very fetching avatar in this beautiful honeybee outfit as we put together a lovely little Winnie the Pooh / honey inspired build in this corner of the peaceful meadow. I absolutely love these items. Even though I'm not the biggest Winnie the Pooh fan, I feel like they're just far enough away from Winnie the Pooh, apart from, of course, the tree that says The Many Adventures of Winnie Pooh. I feel like the honey house could stand alone by itself. I feel like the outfit could stand alone by itself. So I knew as soon as I saw them and they all came to the shop in one go, I had to do a build with them. And that is what I have done for you today. I also couldn't resist using the Bumblestone features that we have. So the Bumblestone fence and the Bumblestone path. I just felt like they were a perfect match. But you will see as we go through the build, this is very warm. It's very kind of rich like honey. It's those orange kind of tones, orange and yellows. That's what we've gone with for this one. And I think it fits in this little corner of the peaceful meadow just perfect. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the build. I hope you enjoy it and I will see you on the other side. All right, you already know the drill by now. I've got my little setup down here for placing all of the items that I think I'm going to use. So I'm going to grab the honey house first. That's what I'm going to bring in. And I think that it fits just nicely in this corner. Now, I love these little sections that we do have in the valley. So we've got one in the Forest of Valor as well. And I just love the little parcel of land that we have to kind of like play and experiment with. So I'm bringing in the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh tree as well. This is, of course, one of the entrance attractions from Walt Disney World for this ride. It's very pretty. I love it. I love that the tree has different colors. And then you'll also see that I'm bringing in some of my rugs. Now, I will link this above if you do want to try and do a water rug tutorial. I have one of those on the channel already. For this one, I made them yellow or orange, kind of in the middle, because I sort of wanted it to look like a pond of honey. Doesn't sound quite right, but I wanted it to be sort of like just this big pool of molten honey. Now, I don't know whether that sounds appealing or not, but that's what we're going with. You'll see that I've also put down the Bumblestone fencing, as well as some of that Bumblestone flooring, because it does have the honeycomb pattern. Now, I think this fits together with that honeybee house really well. I love all of the tones. That's kind of like the rich, warm tones that we're going for with this build. Lots of oranges, lots of yellows, and kind of like rich golds. You know, this kind of build is if Winnie the Pooh sort of like linked up with Scrooge McDuck and maybe perhaps lent a little bit into his capitalist roots. Maybe he's gone from just making honey for fun and for friends, and maybe he's decided to branch out and sort of like become an empire. And this is the result. You get gold floors and gold fencing. We've seen it before, people. We've seen it before. So I'm also using those honey pots that we got in the bundle just to kind of frame it up, sort of like as columns. That was what I was using them as in my head, because often I will use like columns and stuff in my builds to make it feel a bit more regal. But you know what? These honey pots fit perfectly and they go just right with the build. I also love using that Mickey wrought iron fence. I know that it's technically Mickey, but I just feel like it's so grand as a beautiful entrance. So I've used it for that reason. And then I'm bringing in some of the landscaping items that we have from Mythopia for this one, because they are yellow and orange tones. So I did bring in 2 of those just to kind of like break up the 2 corners of those honey pools. That's what I'm going to call them. Honey pools, so you don't see the edge. And I'll go around now and you'll see me dropping a lot of different items around the edge to try and hide them when I'm in character mode. It is difficult because we can't quite fade out the edges of rugs because, of course, they are rugs and they've got metal on them. So if you run over them, they do actually sound like metal. But I'm just going through now with some of the small rocks. I believe these are the Dazzle Beach ones because they were the closest match that I could find to the ones from Mythopia. So I'm just going to go around now and pop a couple of these down along the edges just to try and hide some of those sort of like harsh edges you see from the player point of view. Now, in furniture mode, you still see some of those edges, but because the player camera is much lower, it does help to actually not see some of those hard edges. I have to do cuts occasionally because I still need to come out of furniture mode to save things, because if I leave it too long and I leave furniture mode, it undoes a bunch of my work. Very irritating, still a bug that I'm suffering with, but we push on, we persevere. You'll see that I've put down some of the red ferns. Now these are the sunlit plateau ones, I believe, and they just kind of like went with the colors. Everything else was too green for the vibe that I was going for, so I was like, I'll bring in the red ones, and then I can bring in some of the red sort of like dwarf or mini trees as well, so at least it ties together and we're keeping the palette rich and warm, which is what we're going for. Again, you can kind of like go back in at any time and just sort of place down rocks, things to kind of break it up. If you are doing something like this, if you did follow my water tutorial, you'll know that I kind of did this for a couple of different builds in that example, so you can really do it for anything, and I'm showing you here as well. You can do it with rich kind of like yellows as well and oranges. It still works. The shininess on the kind of like honey pool doesn't look as effective specifically at this angle because of the orientation that I chose to do it. Because of the way the sunlight hits it, it only hits it at a certain direction, so the camera actually has to be facing Dazzle Beach and facing out to the sea. But when you do get a glimpse of it, like when you're walking around, it's super, super bright and very vibrant, which is why I really loved it. But anyway, enough about that. You can see that I've dropped in some of the bigger trees just to add some verticality and some height, and now I'm going through and placing some of the little mushies, some glowing mushrooms. Oh look, there's the honey. You can see it. You can see it. It's nice and bright, right? So I'm placing some mushrooms because I know these light up at night, which is one of my favorite things about them. I'm also going in here and just placing some of the smaller bind trees. Again, similar color palette, all of the same vibes that I wanted. I'm just making them fit, and you know, I can't be without a little bit of symmetry, so we're just dropping them in so they do match on either side. Have you ever wondered how many times I can turn a little rock? Well, now you're finding out. It does look good though. It does look effective in the end, I promise. And then I bring in some of these small little stone clusters. Again, ones that I love. They add like just a little bit of texture because they are smaller and they are sort of broken up. They just like, when you take a glance at them, they do have more texture than all of the other rocks, which is why I love to bring them in. And of course, I've got to place them on the other side to make it match. Because it wouldn't be me if I didn't make them match. It all looks good so far, so I've not really got that much left to do, but I am bringing in some of these garden stepping stones that we got with the Oasis Retreat Star Path. These are very different to everything we have, and they're much like flatter. Some of the ones we've gotten recently, I think it might be the cobblestones, are very bulbous, I suppose is the right word. They come quite far out of the ground. These are much flatter and they've got a much warmer tone to them. They almost perfectly match the steps going up to the honeybee house. So I knew when I saw them in my inventory, I was like, yeah, I need to use these. They definitely fit the vibe and they kind of fit perfectly with the palette. So 100% using them, and they turn out really nicely. I do find that they do have, you can see on some of them, the one stone on the edge kind of like points out like a little bit of an arrow. So it is a little bit difficult sometimes to get these quite right in a way that like works and looks good and not too repetitive. Because you know me, when I'm doing stuff in a build, I don't like to see repetition because I feel like it just catches your eye when something is completely repeating. So I like to, that's why I rotate everything at least a couple of times, even like plants and flowers. But this kind of works now. I've got that set up, and now I'm going to bring in the actual bee boxes that we got with the honeybee bundle. It was an amazing deal. Loved the kind of like feature of having them and the fact they're interactable. I know that they're not massively interactable, just a couple of bees come out of them, but it's such a nice addition and it was really fun to have with the outfit. I'm not going to lie, I came off kind of cooked with this. So here I am placing these down, revisiting the idea that Winnie the Pooh might have just kind of, you know, become a little bit of a capitalist, but he's now farming bees. He's not just making honey, he's farming bees. But I do really love these, and I placed them at kind of an angle because when I was Googling pictures of like honeybees or honeybee houses or honeybee actual farmers. Some of them were at an angle like this and they were kind of facing each other. So it just adds like a little bit of interest rather than having them all in a straight line. And it feels a little bit more, I guess, not wild is too strong of a term, but you know, a bit more earthy, I guess. And then I've placed the leaf strewn path with the border just in front of it to add a little bit of a rustic touch. I'm now going in and adding some of these very pretty lilies that we got with the Tiana Star path. These were not, well, they are, I think they're all water lilies, but these are the versions that you can use on land, because we got two. We got one for water, one for land. But these are quite effective of making it look like those kind of like pools. Although, would you want lilies in honey pools? I'm not, I'm not sure. But either way, it helps actually just like give it the vibe of being liquid. I was going to say water, but it's not water, liquid. So very effective. Just bringing in a couple of trees to make it sort of feel like a little bit of a woodland. You'll see that I've also got the leaf piles. These are from Storybook Vale, I believe. And I brought these in because the tree is obviously starting to turn into autumn. We've got a mixture of leaf colors on it, which I love. It's like the only tree in the game that actually has like a mixture of leaf colors. So I was like, these piles of orange leaves are going to be perfect underneath. It looks like they've fallen and we've kind of like swept them up into piles ready for composting. Because, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle, all of that sort of good stuff. So I'm just tweaking the pathing a little bit here just to make it fit. Now, I know that this pile is kind of in the middle of the path, but it is what it is. The footprint of this tree is a little bit weird, and you can see that it clips quite strongly into the leaf strewn path. So, you know, you just have to work with what you've got sometimes. And turns out I've got a giant footprint. I'm just moving some of these mushies and some of the other foliage, little trees around into the build. So bringing them out from that pond section or that pool section into the build just to tie it all together. Now, these are small enough, these little trees, apart from this giant one, to actually fit in and not look too overbearing, which is why I love them. And again, the color palette just fits and works, which is why they are very adorable. Again, finding places for the mushies. I did try and find some places for these rocks, but then they kind of clashed with the path. So I was like, I'm not sure. We're gonna get rid of that, and I'll just go back to do what I was doing, and that was bringing in some trees. Then I thought, you know what? Some of these beach grasses or the sunlit plateau grasses actually look really effective, and it helps make it feel a little bit more lived in and a little bit more wild, kind of like the 100-acre wood. Not exactly, there's not enough trees, but I think it looks fun. And then I thought I would bring in these lovely floating lanterns just over each side of the... It's weird, I want to call it water, but it's not technically water. Kind of like the golden honey pool, if you will. Because they match, again, the colors of the lanterns match, and at night it will help sort of like bring it to life and just give it a nice little bit of ambiance, as they say. You'll notice I couldn't quite get the position right, but we got there in the end. And then I've also got some of the fireflies from the Dapper Delight Star Path, and I thought, perfect space to put them just over each of the bee houses. And I know they're not technically bees, but it kind of like makes it feel a little bit more alive back there because it is a little bit dark from the shadows casted by the trees. And speaking of lighting, I got these Vitalis Mine lamps in my shop. It feels like they're a new item. I'm not 100% sure if they are, but I thought, you know what? This is the perfect way to add a little bit of like nighttime glow to this space. And it's kind of something that I would see Winnie the Pooh having around, just to have a kind of like an airplane, you know, some guidance lighting. Not that there's going to be any accidents here. All right, time for a tour. Let me walk you through in my very fetching outfit. So over the Golden Bridge, which I love, you can see the little liquid honey pools to the left and the right. I couldn't quite get the shine for the video, which is frustrating. I should have changed the sunlight time. But never mind, the lights are on, the little Vitalis Mine lamps. I love this house. It looks so, so good. I left the mining nodes clear just to make sure that I can complete any star path duties, because I still am grinding through the last bits of the star path. But I think it looks great. I love the idea of having it as like a bridge over that little bit of an entrance to this area. And then of course we've got all of the bee houses back here with the fireflies. So maybe they'll, I don't know, maybe they'll get in a fight. That would be tragic, wouldn't it? And now you have to go through and watch me turn these on one by one. Isn't that fun for you? Why did I record that? I'm not 100% sure, but that is the build. I think it looks great. I'm very happy with how it came out. As soon as I saw these items, I was like, yeah, I need to do something with them. Oh, look, there's a little bit of gold. Look, I was so smart getting that shot. I hope that you like it. Let's check it out at nighttime as well. So this is it at night. Obviously the mushies glow. The pools look much better. The bumblestone fencing has a glow. We've got a glow from the lanterns and the little water lilies, as well as those lamps that we already saw. So everything just looks really effective, and I love it just as much at night as I do in the day. All right, gang, that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed that little speed build in this corner of the peaceful meadow. I certainly had fun putting it together. So hopefully there were a couple of ideas there that you can use for inspiration, or you can just copy the entire thing. That would be amazing as well. A huge thank you again, and as always, to our channel members. I appreciate you all so much for your support. It means the world to me. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will catch you in the next one. And I will, of course, see you in the valley.